Welcome back. Today I'm talking about the Miss Namibia preliminary competition which happened last night. We can't very well talk about the Miss Namibia 2021 preliminary competition without taking into account the production as a whole. The production was one of the places where I was pleasantly surprised. It was way more well done than other years, and I think it's because there wasn't a crowd to take into consideration. Of course, the NBC cameras are still low quality. I don't think they use HD cameras at all. Most of the time it just doesn't look good and it doesn't give you a lot of detail and it tends to wash out colors. But besides that, the production was well done, in my opinion. The music that they used while the girls were walking confuses me because how are they getting away with copyright? Because they played songs like mainstream songs by mainstream American artists, and I don't know how they're going to get away with having this broadcast on television and not being copyright. In fact, in this video, I won't be able to include that music because I know I'm going to get copyright right away when I upload this video and I include any of that music. So I don't think that the Miss Namibia organization has written permission to use all of those mainstream songs. So I don't know how they're getting away with this, but just know that was something that was included. But as someone who is here on YouTube, it just boggles my mind how they're able to get away with this. When it comes to the host, I didn't really like him. He was amateur and sort of unpersonable. It didn't really seem like he knew what it was all about, and he sort of boggled his words and just seemed very detached from the situation. So overall, no, he was no Steve Harvey. I didn't really like him. I think the Miss Namibia organization made a mistake with that particular host. When it comes to the judges, Brumilda Ocht, who is a past Miss Namibia, is the only one in my opinion who belonged there. It would have been nice to see the current Miss Namibia, Nadia Buitenbach, on the panel as well. But she was unfortunately nowhere to be seen last night. I don't know why she wasn't included last night, but she wasn't there. And the rest of the judges were basically just people who don't really have any attachment to pageantry at all, and I don't know how they would know what to look for. This is typically Miss Namibia. They tend to choose some very random people as judges, but I was thrilled to see Brumilda. She looks very gorgeous as usual. When it comes to the introductions, many girls fumbled, many girls forgot their introductions. I mean, this was something that they had time to come up with, study and memorize. Many girls fumbled, stumbled, started to giggle, had awkward silences. I must say I was very disappointed in some of the girls. Some of the best speakers actually ended up not making it into the top 16, which I was also disappointed about. And my number one pet peeve, guys, is when a contestant finishes her introduction or whatever she's saying and says,
"I thank you."
Not "thank you," I thank you. This is my number one pet peeve. I can't with this because it seems unprofessional and it's not proper English. You never say "I thank you." You just say "thank you," because we know it's you thanking us. I mean, are you speaking on behalf of someone else? We know it's you. There's no need to put the "I" in front of "thank you." Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I was impressed with Aurelia's intro in particular. She's just such a magnetic woman with such an amazing voice.
I am Aurelia Samuyenga. I'm 23 years old and I'm from the 061 Windhoek. I am also a final year business management student. We live in a country where girls and women are not encouraged to be leaders, nor is it expected of us. 32% of our cabinet is made up of women, and only 15% of CEOs in state-owned enterprises are women. That needs to change. I stand for creating and fostering a society where women as leaders are embraced.
So now the moment we've all been waiting for, I'm going to be talking about the gowns. Now I've split the gowns into 3 categories: black gowns and gowns with unnecessary random white lace and other. Okay, so the black gown squad, guys, I do not permit or promote black gowns especially at Miss Namibia, because the Miss Namibia production is set up in such a way, the lighting and the stage itself doesn't do you any favors when you're wearing a black gown. Ever. I don't want to see black gowns at Miss Namibia, because a few years ago in 2019, all of the girls wore black gowns intentionally at the finals, and since then I don't ever want to see another black gown at Miss Namibia ever again. So the black gown squad, I'm not really going to be talking about their gowns because, like I said, I don't condone black gowns at Miss Namibia, and they are Unombu, Julian Candy, Exaldra, Ndeshi, and Naomi. Those were the girls in black gowns, and I'm sorry girls, that was a mistake. And now moving on to the white lace squad, guys. Pieces of white lace, especially small pieces that have no business being on a gown, was ruining my life last night. So basically we have Erica, who had this beautiful modern red gown with this random piece of white lace that had no business being on there. This gown would have been so beautiful if it wasn't for that one piece of white lace. Then we have Delia, another potentially good gown with a piece of white lace for no reason. Like, it's not even lace, it's just like this random white string that's there for no reason, not doing her any favors. And then there's Natalia, also having a piece of white lace. And worst of all, Shahida, this gown would have been so beautiful if it wasn't for that white lace sitting there for no reason, with no purpose. Lace, white lace, has no business being on a pageant stage. Wear it on your wedding. First we have Helvi. She was the first girl to come out, so this pleasantly surprised me and reminded me of Tatu Musele's gown at Miss South Africa last year. I really liked this gown. Priska's gown was not wow enough for me. It was a very bland wine red gown, and I really hope that she comes up with something a bit more unique for finals. Esther looks like Santa Claus's sugar baby. Yeah, I don't know what this gown was supposed to be, but it screams Christmas to me. It's just not my style. Maybe you like it, please let me know. I absolutely loved Happy's gown, except for that random piece of fabric here at the back, which doesn't match the color of the gown itself. Happy is a designer herself, so I wonder why she made that decision. I think the gown would have been much better without that piece of fabric hanging back there. Christine's gown, I love this gown. Some people might hate this gown, but I absolutely love it. I love the florals. It seemed so youthful and unique, and nobody else had a gown like it. It stood out in such a good way. Chloe looked like a little sparkly zebra. I absolutely love this gown and her entire look. It fits her personality so well. At this moment, Chloe can do no wrong in my eyes. She's an amazing speaker. Her introduction was amazing. She's a lawyer. She's just a great contender. She later on won the public vote, so she's a big favorite, and her styling, everything is on point at this point. Chloe, I think, is one of the strongest contenders in the competition, and I wouldn't be surprised or disappointed if she won Miss Namibia this year. Stella's gown was a bit boring for me. The color washed her out, and the feather detailing on her wrists didn't do her any favors really. I expected more from Stella because she has such an amazing bubbly personality, so I hope for finals she really brings it with something, it may be a bit more colorful, you know, in a strong, impactful color which suits her as a person, because this muted yellow really did nothing for her. Lizandri's gown was obviously too big for her. I think half a size or perhaps even a size too big for her, but she has amazing legs. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you would know that I have been thirsting for this girl's legs ever since she first started competing, and this gown, the color was amazing on her. It's just the fit for me, but when she turned around, it exposed her entire back, and this was so impressive because this is not something that we usually see at Miss Namibia. Namibian women tend to be more conservative, so I really appreciated her taking that risk in exposing her entire back, and this wouldn't have worked as well as it did if she was less muscular or extremely thin, because then we would be seeing boniness and ribs, which wouldn't have been flattering, and it wouldn't have worked if she was just a bit overweight either. So her body is the perfect body for showing your entire back, and I really appreciated her stylistic decisions when it came to this gown. Maria looked like an avant-garde bride. This gown, I'm sorry, but it's not for me, and it looks like it's supposed to be on a runway somewhere, like a high fashion runway somewhere, to be admired, but not necessarily on a Miss Namibia stage. Katrina's gown would have been so perfect if the mesh in front matched her skin tone, and I know this is difficult for darker skinned women to achieve, because you know the fashion industry is really catered toward lighter skinned women, but there were darker skinned women last night who had mesh that perfectly matched their skin tones. When mesh doesn't match your skin tone, it tends to, you know, bring down the value of the entire gown and just makes the entire gown look not quite right. Mia's gown, it would have been way better without the train and the belt. The train and the belt really made it seem kind of juvenile, which of course is not fitting for the Miss Namibia stage. Marta was one of my very favorites. She's a very good speaker. She is a woman in STEM. She is an engineer, and I think she looked absolutely impeccable in this gown. It's tailored to perfection. Marta was one of my favorites, and one of the biggest shocks later on when I learned that she didn't make it into the top 16. In fact, I thought that she was top 5 material because she was such an amazing speaker, such an educated and intelligent woman, and just styled to perfection, but apparently she's not what the Miss Namibia organization was looking for. Annelie's gown to me was very conservative. She reminded me a lot of Rolene Strauss, not only in her looks but in her mannerisms and her stylistic choices. But Annelien herself, from what I've heard, is a very conservative girl, so I suppose this gown suited her. But I do hope she expands on her taste a little bit, especially when it comes to finals, or else she's going to fade into the background for a lot of people. Shanae came out in a gown similar to Marta's, beautiful green gown. I couldn't really see her technique due to it being not stiff enough around her hips, so I couldn't really see her technique when she was walking, but I do believe this gown was a good suit for her, especially at Miss Namibia, where people are not as focused on technique as they perhaps should be. This gown really suited her, and I didn't mind it on stage. Michelle's gown, I'm sorry to say this, but for lack of a better word, it looks cheap. It's definitely not suitable for Miss Namibia, in my opinion. It didn't hold up well compared to the other gowns at all, in my opinion. And I really hope that Michelle can find a better designer or find a better gown for the Miss Namibia finals, because this gown really wasn't it for me. Shantae came out in this gown, which if it was on any other woman, it would have been a disaster. But because Shantae wore it, and she is very model-esque, and she can walk, it looked like liquid gold dripping off her. And she was wearing the gown in the perfect way. I think she looked absolutely amazing, but if this gown was on any other woman, it wouldn't be the same. Next is Julian Candy from Undangwer.
Good evening, Namibia. My name is Julian Candy. I am 21 years of age and I was born in Undangwer.
I didn't like the bunching at the front by her stomach. Didn't like it at all. If it wasn't for that, the gown would have been perfectly fine. Nothing special about it. I truly just didn't like that bunching at her stomach. When Violan came out, I almost thought, yes, finally we have a gorgeous tailored gown, impeccable, but then she turned around and I noticed that there was too little fabric. Didn't they have enough fabric to finish the gown? What happened at the back there? It looks bad. It takes away from the entire gown. It's a beautiful concept for the gown. I just wish that the execution was better. And out comes Aurelia. And I'm very much on the fence about this gown because on the one hand, she looks like an angel. And on the other hand, this is the outfit you wear when your elderly rich husband dies in mysterious circumstances and the police come knocking. But let me know what you guys think about this gown. I still think that Aurelia looks beautiful. She's still one of my favorites. I loved Lily's gown. Some people might hate it. Some people hate the shoulder or the bow. I love the color and I didn't mind the shoulder or the bow because when she moved it looked like she was on fire, and I actually really love to see this gown on stage because it was a unique color, not really something that we see that often, and I absolutely didn't mind it. In fact, I quite liked it. The next person's gown was definitely not well executed. Beulah's gown to me, it seemed half made. I think the fabric with which the train was made should have covered the entire gown and it would have looked so beautiful, but it just ended up looking half made and not completely finished, if you know what I mean. Last but not least, poor Angelica was swimming in that gown. She was drowning in that gown was way too big for her, both in size and in volume. In fact, it didn't look like she was wearing the gown, it looked like the gown was wearing her. I'm very sad that she didn't choose something that suited her body type more. I mean, she's a very petite and model-esque girl that could have gotten away with wearing something way more tight, you know, to show her body and her legs and things like that. This gown just didn't suit her, in my opinion.
I just noticed that I forgot to talk about Underlene's gown. I would have chucked this gown right into the black gown category. You guys know how I feel about black gowns. This gown, I mean, it's very Underlene. Underlene has a big personality. It's not necessarily for me. It's not necessarily for me. I guess that's all I'm going to say.
Then, guys, there was an unnecessarily long break when the judges were supposed to make their decisions and the people were supposed to do math. And they showed video clips that they had already posted previously on their social media, but they literally showed them over and over again. And I just don't think that this was a good decision. I think that if you're going to have a little video break where nothing is physically happening on stage like this, I think it's wise to have some exclusive footage that you take behind the scenes beforehand, you know, showing how the girls are having a good time or whatever, for the people to watch. I think people would really be interested in seeing those types of footage in breaks like this. Or else what they also could have done in this break, which lasted 25 minutes. Imagine 25 minutes of watching videos over and over again, which you have already watched. What I also think they could have done is just have like a swimsuit round, which would not be judged. If you know what I mean, like have the girls walk around in their swimsuits on stage while the judges and the other people are doing their thing, because swimsuit was already judged beforehand behind closed doors, but it would have been nice to see all of the girls strut their stuff in their swimsuits, even if the judges wouldn't have taken it into account. We would have been watching and I would have thoroughly enjoyed that. Our dashing host came out and announced that, in fact, the rumors were true. If you watched my previous Miss Namibia videos, then you would know that I have been wondering whether the rumors of Miss Rundu automatically placing in the finals were true, and they were in fact true. Miss Rundu, despite having competed in all of the preliminary phases of competition, automatically qualifies for Miss Namibia's top 16 this year. Let me just say, what bothers me about this is not the fact that Miss Rundu automatically fast tracks into the top 16, because that's an agreement between Miss Namibia and Miss Rundu's organization or whatever. That's fine by me. That's totally okay. What my problem is that Miss Rundu was allowed to compete in the Public Choice Award. Now, what the Public Choice Award was the public could vote for one girl in order to fast track her into the top 16. And Miss Rundu Michelle was allowed to compete in this. Now, what I'm wondering is how many Namibian citizens spent their hard-earned money voting for this girl, not knowing that she would be fast-tracked into the top 16 automatically anyway. I think the Miss Namibia organization should at least have been forthcoming with this information before the public voting opened. They should have told the public that, listen, Miss Rundu is already fast-tracked into the top 16 due to being Miss Rundu. Because the girl who wins public choice doesn't win anything else really. Her prize is getting into the top 16. But she was allowed to partake in public voting, and I think a lot of people feel kind of stupid now for voting for her, not knowing that she was automatically going to place. Miss Debutante, the girl who raised the most funds for Miss Namibia, turned out to be Priska. I absolutely love Priska, so I'm so glad that she made the top 16. The public choice winner actually turned out to be Chloe. I love Chloe. Like I said before, I wouldn't mind if she takes the crown. And there was a wild card position, and I really don't know what it means. It's basically like Miss Debutante, first runner-up, because the host said it was the girl who also raised a lot of money for Miss Debutante. So it's basically Miss Debutante, first runner-up, and that person turned out to be Shantae. The rest of the top 16, which is 12 girls, were Helvi, Esther, Happy, Stella, Lizandri, Mia, Annerie, Shanae, Aurelia, Chelsea, Shahida, and Andeline. Overall, the top 16 shocked me a little bit. Just about all of my favorites made it, apart from two girls, unfortunately, Erica and Marta. But I'm so happy for the top 16, and I absolutely can't wait for the finals. Hopefully the production is just as good as it was yesterday. I actually hope it's a virtual show again in order to get the same quality of production. So please let me know what you think about the top 16. Do you agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree with any of the other points I made? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. Also, follow me on Instagram. I post lots of pageant stuff over there, and I mean lots. All in all, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!